I guess we're in a liberty state of mind this weekend, and I know you love the United States history as much as I do. So let me read a quote from the Declaration of Independence, and I'm going to have you react to it. Okay, Senator?
Sure.
Okay. Quote, "For the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor." End quote. So, Senator, the founding fathers, they were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for liberty, weren't they?
Yes, they were. And in fact, they knew that many of them would absolutely have to pay it. And that's probably something that people don't realize. But I wish I had the data in front of me. You can look it up pretty quickly online and find out just how many of the signers of the Declaration actually did end up giving their life for the cause, or having their homes burned down, or having their children lost. An unbelievable amount of sacrifice, and those folks put their lives and their honor and fortunes on the line for us. They knew full well that change would only happen in the future. They weren't really doing it for themselves. They were doing it to make sure that future generations would live in a free society, and I feel like we owe them a debt, and that's the reason why I do what I do every day. I want to make sure that we preserve their value system in our system of laws and government, so that people in the future will be able to have the same, freedoms that we do.
And I love hearing that from you. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you're motivated by protecting and defending the American system of government, and why that defines your service as a state senator.
Right. Well, Gary, I would say if there's something wrong in this country and in this state with the way our government operates, it is simply that we keep drifting away from those principles. And I think we do so mostly because the average person is not as familiar with that history, or the value of freedom over socialism, or the sacrifice that was made to make sure that we live in the society that we do. And I think people don't really have a good understanding of what the alternatives are. And if people knew these things, I think that they would value our freedom that much more. So I focus more than anything on making sure people understand what the real choices are when there is legislation before us. You know me, I kind of do my own thing, and I'm sometimes even critical of the Republican Party, which I am a proud member of. But sometimes the Republican Party and I part ways on some issues, and generally speaking, when we do, it's because I believe that they are failing to make a broad, bright line, case for why we are different from the Democrats. And the Democrat Party today wants to tear down everything that was described in the sentence you read from the Declaration of Independence. They want to make the United States of America into an entirely different top-down, big government, central planning, you will do what we say type of society. And I couldn't just disagree more. This country is founded for free people who are capable of living their own lives and taking responsibility for them. And our system of laws ought to be based in that. And the one thing that's missing, and I don't mean to ramble on, is representative government. I think that's the one thing that people are not grasping that they should.
Yep.
And that is that, our elected officials are responsible to the people. And this past year, we saw a big illustration of that when there was a surge, really, of moms and parents showing up at local Board of Ed meetings to challenge their elected officials on, masks or vaccines or critical race theory in schools or whatever it was. And it doesn't matter where you stand on those issues. The notion that people actually came and talked to their government officials one-on-one to make sure that they got what they were asking for is the important lesson from that. And we need much more of that.
Would you call yourself more of a libertarian?
I would. I'm a Republican and proud to be. I'm a Republican because of Lincoln. I was fascinated by American history growing up. I certainly studied the Revolutionary War, and then when I found out, talking to my family members, that I had a number of relatives and ancestors that served in the Civil War, that gave me a significant interest in it, and I started to study more and more, and I became fascinated with Lincoln. And what Lincoln did is remarkable. in so many ways. He's the ultimate statesman, the only president that I think that even comes close to the quality and caliber of the founders that gave us this great nation. And he should be remembered in that way. And it's a shame that his legacy has been in some ways tainted, especially recently with all of this debate over race and everything else. This is a beautiful and great country, and one of our accomplishments and achievements is that we created a society of free citizens, and that we ultimately overcame slavery.
Yeah, amen to that. You know, you were talking about the differences between the Democrat Party and how much far to the left that they have gone. And the problem is that you have, and to some degree, a lot of Republicans, or at least our listeners have with the Republican Party. Do you find that the Republican Party, or maybe it's the Connecticut Republican Party, have moved more to the center or have moved further to the right?
Well, you know, I think that the problem that we have in this state, and you and I have talked about this before, is that there is this impression that we live in this unbelievably deep blue Democrat state, and there's no way to win, and, you know, oh my God, what are we going to do? So I think that there is a tendency from Republicans to believe that, you know, we're better off moderating our positions temporarily until we can get ourselves in power, and then we're going to do all the things that we want to do. And I disagree with that philosophy. I think it's dishonest, for one thing, and I think it's completely contrary to how politics works. One thing you can admire the Democrats for is that they never forget who they are and what they're fighting for. And they understand politics. Politics exists for the sole purpose of moving your agenda to make the world into what you want it to be. And if you are serving as a Republican and you believe that we should live in a free country, more like the concept of individual liberty and personal responsibility, and you keep more of your money in your pocket, etc., then you should be fighting for that, and you should be telling people that that's what you stand for, and not watering it down just because you feel that that's what's necessary to get elected. And I believe that's why we lose. On top of it, I think it's because we don't offer a clear alternative and pride in our brand, which is what we need to have. I'm proud to be a Republican. I'm proud to stand for the party of Lincoln and the values of this country. And I've been successful, Gary, and it's because I think people that resonates with them, and I think they want to see more of that from Republicans. And I believe that we would grow our base, and we'd win over a lot more people if we were willing to carry the torch for that.
Rob, you're out there all the time. I mean, on a daily basis. You're in Cheshire, in Woolka. You're holding rallies for tax relief in the pouring rain. You're getting taxpayers to come out in downpours and sign petitions. Why do they, and for that matter, why do they and why do you? Why do you do it? Why do you do it on every day you're out there fighting? Whether we're in session or not, whether it's a clear blue skies or it's overcast and, like I said, having downpours, whether it's a Wednesday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, you're fighting, you're out there, you're visible every day, and you keep that fight up all the time. In fact, you can be admired, really, for your efforts. I've served with you for a couple of terms in the legislature in our House of Representatives. Rob, I don't think I've appreciated you more than over the last 2 years, or 3 years, whatever it's been. So looking at it from a bird's eye perspective, and looking at everything from a bird's eye view, I see you fighting daily for it. What motivates you? What gives you that drive every day to fight?
Well, again, you're being very, very kind.
I mean it, Rob. I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of other Republican lawmakers that are working just as hard as me every day to try and turn this state around and work together to make the case for why Connecticut needs a new direction, particularly with our economic policy. I mean, the Connecticut Democrats continue to grow government and increase the burden on Connecticut taxpayers, and we're seeing the results. And obviously the entire country is going through a bit of a malaise and some economic problems, but I think that's exacerbated in Connecticut, and we ought to be the bad example that other states should say, hey, let's not do what they're doing. And we do need a direction. So there are a lot of great people doing it. And I think there's a lot of great people in our communities all across the Connecticut that truly love this country like we do, and they share our concern. And the short answer for why I do it is because I can. I think that every 2-year cycle you're up for re-election, and you have to make a decision about whether you're going to stay and fight or you're going to move out of state or whatever it's going to be. And I feel like there's so many people relying on me that they look to me as someone that carries their views, to Hartford to fight for them. And I just would feel terrible to let them down. The reason why I do what I do more than anything else. That, and of course, because I truly believe that our best days are ahead, and that I think that people given a choice between freedom or socialism, they're going to choose freedom every time. And I just want other people to stand side by side with me and fight for it.
No, we do.
That's the way we're going to get it.
We do. We're Rob Sampson. I mean, you endure the slings and arrows of the far left every day for the stances that you take on liberty and freedom, and you take the shots and you deliver your own shots in return. I don't think you get enough recognition for that, but we certainly appreciate you fighting for us. We are talking with State Senator Rob Sampson. By the way, everybody, happy 23% diesel tax hike day, everyone. Happy Eversource rate hike day, everybody. The electric rate is the hike is going to be another $50 a year for you all. Rob, talk about what constituents say to you about overtaxation and rate hikes.
Yeah, I get a lot of incoming phone calls and mail. Even from my own family. They think somehow I have a magic wand. I'm gonna go to Hartford and fix it. What people don't realize is that we're outnumbered. The legislature is made up basically 2-to-1, Democrats to Republicans. And I don't even know that all of the Democrats even buy into this stuff, but they vote that way, so they may as well. And that's what needs to change if we're going to change just how much we are taxed in the state. You're right. July 1st, the diesel tax goes into effect, another 9 cents. You might say, oh, that's on trucks. That doesn't matter to me. Well, it does, because it's going to end up driving up the cost of every thing that we buy. Everything that ends up on a store shelf came by truck at some point. So that's going to obviously reflect in higher prices there. Electricity rates. The thing is that, the legislature has had the power to prevent these things. Governor Lamont has known, ever since we started bringing it up at the beginning of the year about this diesel rate hike, and we just found out recently it was going to be 9 cents, which I don't know if that's good or bad. We were talking about it being over 10 cents for a while. Either way, it's terrible. And he has the power to prevent that from happening. And the Democrats have the power right now to bring us into special session and to pass our Affordable Connecticut Relief Plan that the Republicans have put together, which is just using money that the Democrats are sitting on. It's in a bank account up there as a budget surplus, created, I might add, out of their bad policies. It's terrible that they're being rewarded for bad policies. On a federal level, they're printing money like crazy, which is driving down the value.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what's causing the inflation.
And that's what's causing inflation. And that inflation, in turn, makes everything cost more. And when everything costs more taxes collected. So the state of Connecticut is ultimately benefiting by having a stockpile of cash as a result of their own bad policies. That is a terrible way for them to be rewarded. But that money can and should be returned to the people of Connecticut right now. There's no better time they can use it to offset some of that inflation. And that's why we've been rallying around the state. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to press the governor to bring us in and make this kind of relief.
I heard that Martin Looney say that he's got nothing against a special session, but he doesn't see it happening prior to November. And we can only, we all know the reason why that is. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, it's an election year. Wouldn't it be smart for the Democrats to call the special session and make this correction here? I mean, it would probably help them on an election year, but I don't see that happening. We're all crying uncle over here, man. It's tough, and I know you live it as well. You live here, and you hear from your family members, as you just mentioned. But we have this rainy day fund of record proportions. If this isn't a rainy day, Senator, what is?
Yeah, you're totally correct. Yeah, people are struggling. I mean, you can talk to anyone all across the state, in every community. Certainly people on fixed incomes, seniors. I am terrified, Gary, of what this is going to look like when we get closer to winter. If there's no relief between now and the time when people are in a position to buy fuel oil, or they're paying their electric heating bill, there's going to be significant problems that we're going to have to deal with at that point. We've really got to turn this around, and that's why I think it's a tremendous shame. You know what's funny? You mentioned the Democrats. You think it might be a good idea for them to go along with us. Well, they have to a degree. The only reason why we have the temporary, tax relief on gasoline is because we forced them into it.
That's right.
We forced their hand earlier this year. And to be honest, that's what we're trying to do again. We're in the minority. We don't have the votes to make it happen. We don't even have the ability to bring the legislature into a session by ourselves. But we can marshal the support of Connecticut residents, as we did to stop tolls, and pressure the Democrats into a situation where they feel like they have to.
Rob,
that's what we're hoping for.
I'm just about out of time. 1 week from today, that's next Friday, July 8th, we're doing our listener luncheon over at the Manhattan Restaurant in Southington. And I got Bob Stefanowski as a keynote speaker. We've got a boatload of our listeners and a lot of your constituents. We're going to be right in your district. I hope you can make it.
It's right in my backyard, and it's already on my calendar, Gary, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
12 noon to 2. I look forward to seeing you 1 week from today, brother. You have a great weekend. Thanks for being with us.
Happy Independence Day to everybody listening, and thanks so much, Gary.
Right back to you. All right.